Why is this just seeing the light of day in the last 48 hours? Why? And quite frankly, if we hadn't have been, our typical jerk selves here, hammering people every day, not that we want to spend time on that, but sometimes you have to, it would have never seen the light of day. Let me repeat that. It would have never seen the light of day. It was buried. So what does Polly Pockets have as an explanation? When the president supports him 100%, that he mentioned to the president he had this and he was suppressing it? When he briefed the president Mar-a-Lago, did he ever mention to the president that the Judiciary Committee had a 300-page report that showed, at least in that aspect, a criminal conspiracy to go after, to persecute him? I think that's what the headline, I think that's what the title of the report is.
So all this time, they've had a 300-page report that Johnson's been sitting there holding back.
Yeah, I'm amazed. I seen it come out yesterday, and I opened it and read the first 12 pages and realized, oh my gosh, this is 300 pages. But Bannon says, MAGA, War Room Posse, we have weekend homework. And this is what we're going to be doing this weekend, going through every page of that 300-page document. Every page. And why? We want to ask this question to Speaker Johnson. Why did you do this? Why? We want to know. We need to know why you all of a sudden are on the side of everybody else who doesn't want President Trump to be here. President Trump is the nominee. Full stop.
Sitting here knowing that he's held back this report also just kind of answers the questions that people have had, or even makes it provable that Mike Johnson is not the Speaker of the House that we truly needed. This makes perfect sense as to why everything that he has been doing is pushing straight toward what the Uniparty wants.
Yes, and they absolutely despise MAGA. They hate that MAGA is ascendant.
Yep.
And, Steve Bannon's been talking about it over and over and over. If MAGA gets in office, we will lead for 100 years. And they can't stand that. You know why we will lead for 100 years? Because the people would love it. They will have great lives, a great economy, good jobs, so many things. So is this thing working?
Good question to ask this morning.
Yes.
How's it going over there?
It's going great. It's Friday. We're excited about Friday always. We have a great show on Friday. It's missed big headlines this week because there was a lot of headlines that we could not get to.
Yeah.
And with the Supreme Court justice and justices coming out about this immunity trial, and with Trump also on day 8
of the
in trial,
of the
always
hush money
something,
trial.
the hush money trial. And so there's been a lot going on with the schools. You've heard about all of that,
Well, this definitely had to be the biggest missed headline.
Yes.
Because even this come out, yesterday morning?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And in the middle of all that was going on, we kind of missed that until later on in the afternoon.
I know. But before we start the show today, folks, we want to state that our opinions are our own, mine and James. They're ours. We own them. So if you agree with us, tell your friends and share the show. And if you don't agree with us, also tell your friends and share the show. Also, stomp that like button and please follow or subscribe wherever you see the name. Is this thing working? You help James and I further our reach, which we have reached way more people every single month. And we appreciate everything that you do for us. So thank you. Also, download the Rumble app. You can go to www.rumble.com anytime you need to watch our show also. But please download the Rumble app. You can follow the show and you will receive instant notifications whenever we go live, Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time.
And we would be doing a great disservice to you if we forgot to mention our sponsors. One of our favorite sponsors that we have is Coffee Brothers Coffee. And as we told you before, man, we love Coffee Brothers Coffee. We drink it every morning.
I have one right here in my coffee cup.
You bet. It's good stuff, man.
Of Coffee Brothers.
Good stuff. And why should you buy from Coffee Brothers? Here's their mission statement. I want to read this to you real quick because this might be of some importance to you. Their mission statement says, from the start and throughout this entire journey, we knew the cornerstone of our coffee program would be sustainability, quality, consistency, and freshness. As we continue to grow, We will build stronger ties with local communities and strengthen the economies and the ecosystems of the countries that our products originate. Sustainability is vital not only to our industry, but to the planet that constantly provides for us.
So please go and click the link below and enjoy some coffee with us. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to a reminder about James this weekend, his Sunday show, episode 2. Listen to him describe it.
Yeah, so if you missed last Sunday's show, I'm calling it now My Sunday Special. And last week, the topic of discussion was, do we live in a democracy? Do we live in a constitutional republic? Is democracy a lie? And as we see that term constantly gets misused, thrown around haphazardly like people like to do with it and holler, save our democracy, I had to come and at least give you some education on that, bring you the info, and you decide. Well, in light of all that's went on this week on college campuses with the protests, with the cops coming in, having to detain and arrest and control the crowd, heard a lot of people hollering, oh, my First Amendment rights have been violated, my First Amendment rights. Well, had they really been violated? Did you take yourself out of the classification of a protester and into a lawbreaker classification, and that's why the cops had to come in and take you down? You do have First Amendment rights. You do have protections. So starting this week, my Sunday special is going to start with the First Amendment. I'm going to bring you some interesting things about it. Hopefully you'll learn.
And you can find every one of James's specials, Sunday specials, in the same place that you can find every one of Is This Thing Working shows on the podcast and on Rumble. So look for it everywhere. It says Sunday Special, Episode 1. So look for that.
Let's get rolling.
Let's get rolling. Missed headline. First missed headline today. The conservative justices were on top of business yesterday on the immunity case.
Yes, they were.
So that was very important. So we have an article here by Gateway Pundit, and we're going to talk about Justice Kavanaugh. He asked the question. He asked Jack Smith's prosecutor why Barack Obama was never charged for drone strikes against civilians. That's the headline here at Gateway Pundit. As everyone knows, the Supreme Court on Thursday heard oral arguments on Trump's presidential immunity claim in Jack Smith's January 6th case in D.C. after a federal appeals court ruled Trump was not immune from prosecution. The conservative Justice Brett Kavanaugh asked DOJ prosecutor Michael Dreeben, former Mueller goon, is what they say.
Well, they're right.
They're right. Why Barack Obama was never charged for drone strikes against civilians. And this is very, very important. We've had many debates on this issue. So I'm glad that he brought it up.
I'm glad too that finally somebody in the judicial system finally has come out publicly and asked why. How did you get away with drone bombing civilians? On top of that, how do you get away with drone bombing innocent American civilians, which is what you've done?
That's exactly right. So, I mean, this immunity thing is very important. It's bringing out a lot of information. But this Dreeben character, he wants to go on and say, so the Office of Legal Counsel looked at this very carefully and determined, number one, that the federal murder statute, listen to that, murder statute does not apply to the executive branch. But the president wasn't personally carrying out the strike. But the aiding and abetting laws are broad and determined that a public authority exception is built into statutes and that applied particularly to the murder statute that talks about unlawful killing did not apply to the drone strike. Why don't you please explain exactly what this fella said?
Well, what he's trying to say is that there's classifications of this murder statute. There's lawful and there's unlawful, okay? My question is was the drone strike lawful? That's my question. Was the drone strike truly lawful? Maybe the drone strike was lawful if that drone strike had happened against a foreign adversary or an enemy, that kind of thing. But that drone strike ended up costing an American's life.
Yes. Well, I don't understand. I mean, I get all that. I don't understand why Benghazi doesn't come up, though, and
Fast and Furious
Eric and all
Holder.
that.
Eric Holder claimed immunity, remember?
Yes.
He claimed immunity in that.
Yeah. So immunity has been used a lot of times.
Yes, it has. That's what everybody's screaming. If there's no immunity for President Trump, then there's no immunity for President Obama. There's none for President Joe Biden. There's none for President George W. Bush. There's none for President Bill Clinton. None of them.
None of them.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's a slippery slope. We do not want to go down this slope right here.
Well,
we do not.
We don't want to go down this rabbit hole. That is what's happening. What I think is crazy is, and I agree with this one statement right here on Gateway Pundit. They said Dreeben could have saved a lot of time by this statement above here because it really didn't say anything and just said that Barack Obama had Democrat privilege.
It's exactly what it sounded like.
No, but we'll keep you updated on the Supreme Court.
While we're talking about Obama, let's continue to talk about Obama. Let's continue to talk about immunity. Let's continue. Here we go. Another article, and this is coming also from the classified documents case, revealed. Court documents released indicate Jack Smith and the FBI were after Obama and North Korea-related documents in the Mar-a-Lago raid.
Once again, Obama is messing with President Trump always.
Yep. It says newly unredacted documents in the Mar-a-Lago raid case indicate that Jack Smith was after Obama and North Korea-related documents. After the raid, the DOJ said they were pleased with their findings and wrote, "I think we're in good shape." Story goes on to say President Trump said 2 years after he met Obama before his 2017 inauguration that Obama was on the brink of starting a war with North Korea. President Trump claimed that Obama was close to starting a big war.
Yeah, you're right, though, because I can remember over time that President Trump came out and was talking about North Korea and how Obama had said that he almost got us into war with North Korea. But at the same time, President Trump is loving the letters that he gets from North Korea's Kim Jong-un. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so my theory is he's been trying to warn us this whole time about Obama and how corrupt and criminal Obama was going after the documents that were related to North Korea years later when it raided President Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago. And took President Trump's documents that he legally had possession of per the Presidential Records Act. He legally had possession of all of these. They made up crimes to go after President Trump to cover up their crimes.
Exactly. And then went to Mar-a-Lago to get the evidence of their crimes. Julie Kelly reported on this, and she touched on this later in the latest revelations coming out of this classified documents case against President Trump. The latest unredacted documents that Jack Smith argued not to release show that the Obama-Biden gang was working with multiple government agencies to set up President Trump.
Boom.
This is part of the 300 pages that we're talking about, correct?
No, that is separate.
That's something separate.
That is separate. That is Alvin Bragg. I believe a lot of that has to do with Alvin Bragg and
okay.
Letitia James. Yeah, they've already had investigations into that.
Yeah, but there's more, and this Gateway Pundit continues on. It says, but there is more. Per a document released this week after months of fighting to make the documents available to the American public, there is a clue as to what the corrupt Biden-Obama gang was after in its raid. Not only did the regime want to take back all documents that President Trump had possession of that highlighted their crimes, but the regime wanted another key document or a set of documents as well. And that was what they were looking for.
Yes. And I don't believe that they were just looking for that either. I don't believe we're finished. This is a document dump coming from Judge Cannon's office.
Yes.
You know, she's forced the DOJ to release these.
Yep.
And in order to go any further in the case, everything had to be unredacted. And it's really cool. We're really, really, really glad that she's doing this, because President Trump had the Presidential Records Act on his side this whole time. And everyone knew it. Everyone's known it. The mainstream media has gone out and just dogged and say, oh, no, that's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. That's bull. Yeah. Biden, Obama, George Bush, everybody else got to take all their records home. And I can guarantee you every one of them has something on the other one.
Well, let me tell you
Every one of them has something on the other one. Why do you think that George Bush is so friendly with Obama and Biden?
Let me tell you what. Out of all these presidents, out of every one of them, if I'm going after any one of them as a prosecutor, if I'm doing it as a DA, I'm going after Joe Biden. I'm going after Sleepy Joe,
yes,
the pedophile Joe. You know what I mean? I'm going after him. Why? And this is something that hardly is never, ever brought up. President Bill Clinton had a right to presidential records. President Obama had a right to presidential records. President Trump had a right to presidential records. The records that Joe Biden obtained, he never had a right to. Not in my opinion.
That's stealing. He's a thief.
That is exactly right. And I'm not stating this as an opinion. I'm stating this as a fact based on the law. Joe Biden is a thief. Joe Biden has illegally obtained classified documents. They were in his garage.
And wrote a book with them.
That's exactly right. When he never had authority to have those documents. Not only did he have those documents, he revealed the contents of those documents to a ghostwriter. If I'm going after anybody, it's him.
After listening to all this, I am stressed out. I can't help it. James. This has stressed me out. So I'm going to go here after the show, and I'm going to take me some pure hemp botanicals because they do calm me down after the show. I mean, I'm so like wired. Oh, I just can't help it. But please help us out with another one of our sponsors, Pure Hemp Botanicals. I hope you liked the way I did that. That was kind of fun. But it is true. We get a little stressed out of the content that we talk about sometimes. And Pure Hemp Botanicals is great. You know, they have gummies, they have tinctures. So you can have whatever you want right there on their website. So go to purehempbotanicals.com and click the link below. Thank you. Here we go to another headline. We've been talking about the colleges. We've been talking about what's going on at the colleges. And it's really sad that our Ivy League students are being talked into protesting on anti-Semitic incitements. It's totally way worse than it's ever been in the protests. Now, we've had protests over years and years and years and years. Way back in the 60s, they protested government even back then.
Sure.
But this is out of control. They're protesting
hate speech. This is hate. This is hate is what this is. Terrorism is what it is.
So we have this headline here, and it says the NGO network orchestrating anti-Semitic incitement on American campuses. That's the name of this article. So what have we been pushing? We've been pushing this whole time how NGOs are working against America. The same thing at the border, the same thing here on our kids. Go through this article.
Yeah, it comes from NGO Monitor, and it says, in the wake of October 7th, the exponential rise in anti-Semitic violence, incitement, intimidation, and harassment on and around campuses in the United States is not the product of spontaneous protests of individuals. Rather, they are highly coordinated and well-funded by a network of radical and often anti-Semitic and non-governmental organizations, or NGOs, as you continually hear us refer to them as, including Students for Justice in Palestine, Jewish Voice for Peace, Within Our Lifetime, U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights. Under the guise of human rights and justice, these NGOs work to undermine the economic, military, and other ties between U.S. and Israel and to besiege and divide the U.S. Jewish community. The other day when the Columbia protests began, and it dragged on to the next day, and then you had the Harvard one, you had the Yale one, then all of a sudden, next thing you know, they're breaking out all over the country, and then you had the big one at USC the other day.
In Texas here, too.
And then you had the one at UT Austin. Yeah. And I was on Twitter talking and tweeting about this back and forth with other people. And I said, you always have to bring up who started this? Who is organizing these things? These things do not happen organically. Somebody told me there's no boogeyman.
There isn't no boogeyman.
I said, bullshit. There's not a boogeyman, but somebody's organizing all this.
Well, our government is organizing these. This bill that just happened to pass, $95 billion, that was supposed to go to Ukraine, Israel, and the Indo-Pacific. Guess what? They also added money for NGOs for an additional amount. This is what it reads. It reads the Department of State, Migration and Refugee Assistance for an additional amount for migration and refugee assistance, $3,495,000,000 to remain available until expended to address humanitarian needs of vulnerable populations and communities, provided that such amount is designated by the Congress as being for an emergency requirement pursuant to section, and it gives the section number, of the Balanced Budget and Emergency Deficit Act of 1985. So, what do you think here, guys?
This is exactly what they told you. They're funding these NGOs to facilitate human trafficking to come cross our border and invade our country. They're using this money to facilitate the organization of riots across, I'm going to call them riots. They're protests that turn into riots, but I'm going to call them that.
Okay.
But they're also, this is exactly what they're doing. This money will fund the organization and the facilitating of those protests on campus, and we've just seen evidence of that. All of this came, like you said, pork-bellied.
Yes, in this big
into
bill.
the foreign aid bill, and it's in Section 2 called the Bilateral Economic Assistance. So this is in the bill. You're going to find this and read it, go through it, check it out.
Yeah, because there's a lot more pork. That's what they do. They say these are important bills for Ukraine. Well, okay, I'm sorry, but that drives me crazy. I'm over Ukraine already. And here, I'm way over NGOs. I'm extremely done with NGOs. They're running our country. This government is paying outsiders to run our country.
This government's out of control.
And they're out of control. And if we don't do something about NGOs, this country is lost completely. NGOs need to become illegal. That needs to happen today.
One of the biggest things I've seen about this, too, one of the biggest things I've seen about this in that paragraph, it mentioned the dollar amount, $3,495,000,000, and it says the very next words is to remain available until expended.
Yes. So there you go. They can just write checks anytime they want to these NGOs.
They will spend that $3 billion. They will continue. So what we're seeing going on is going to continue.
Yes. You know, and what's crazy about all this is we got another headline here. Exclusive poll. America warms to mass deportations. So this thing that's going on at the border, the NGOs, the stuff that we continue to talk about is getting out there. And we are so glad because really it is costing so much money, as we just told you, what they're doing with these NGOs for supposedly humanitarian aid. That is, that's money coming out of your pocket. But it says here in the article, share of Americans who say they support mass deportations of undocumented immigrants, 51% of the general public. That is over half of America. Now, you know how long it's been.
Their belly full.
They have had their belly full of this last 4 years. They are done.
Yep.
They are done with the crime in their cities. They're done with government thinking of the illegals over them. And, it's not just this. Other things are coming up. For example, Biden is also fixing to raise your taxes. So you're fixing to have your taxes raised because they're going to get rid of President Trump's tax cuts. And they're going to raise your taxes to pay for this. This is what they're paying for because they don't have the money. We posted yesterday and talked yesterday about how the economy is doing right now. It is in stagnation right now. I seen the words first thing this morning. Stagnation will be here for 10 years. Once you hit stagflation and you don't grow and you just keep going below and you're not growing and you're getting smaller and smaller and smaller growth, guess what happens? You stagnate. Once you stagnate, it's going to take a long time, a very long time to move out of it.
Yeah.
And so this is very important. The American people are telling you, no, we don't want to pay for your migrants to come into this country. We just don't. We don't want it.
Is this thing working?
Rise up.
Well, hey, everybody, that's it for today. Thanks for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed the show. Hope you've learned some things about what's going on around us in the nation and in your communities. We couldn't do this without your continued support either. We appreciate all of you showing up. taking the time to listen to us today. So please, like I say, make sure to hit the like button, share our show with all your friends. We'll see you next time on Is This Thing Working? And as always, I'm James, and that's my lovely co-host over there.
Denise,
And we'll see you next time.
we're out.